Welcome to our very first Tuesday at 12. On today, Tuesday, the 29th of July. I'm Catherine Lammas and I'm the creator of this idea of Tuesday at 12. So let me first of all explain a bit about what it is. Um, I am a qualified and trained coach, and I felt there was a gap for people that wanted coaching but perhaps didn't want it face to face. So I wanted to provide this free service so that each week people have the time to think about something that they want to achieve or perhaps something that's bothering them and to plan out how they're going to deal with that. So essentially, that's it. But Lammer's Success Coaching was created quite a few years ago, and we're based in on the south coast of England in Sandgate, which is in Kent. So if you do hear seagulls in the background, that is because we do live by the seaside. And if you want to follow what we do, we have an Instagram account, and the address is there available on the screen. So first of all, let me explain in a bit more detail what these sessions are about every Tuesday. I've designed it so that they come in four clear segments. So the first part is really a review of what you've done last week. And I'll go through a set of questions to help you identify where your biggest challenges were, perhaps where you did really well and you want to build on that, and maybe areas where you felt you might have tripped up and you want to improve. So we'll spend a little bit of time at the beginning talking about that. Then I'll spend probably about 15 minutes looking at this week's topic. So each week we choose something that is topical. Perhaps it's in the news, perhaps it's something that I feel is important, perhaps something you feel important. So each week I will research an area. I usually use a book or a self-help book, or as I say, something that's topical about health generally. And then I'll pick out the key points so that I can present the headlines to you within that little segment. Then part three is really the essence of this. It's a silent coaching session, and all you're going to need for this is a pen and a piece of paper. So you might want to grab that fairly soon so that when we get to that part, you're all prepared to do your silent thinking and planning and setting goals and all the rest of it. I'll explain that in a few moments. And then the final bit is always reviewing this session and planning what we're going to do next week. So it's really simple, and I will guide you through each segment. So really all you need to do is try to relax, think and focus on your plans. And the only thing we ask of you at Llama Success Coaching is that you kind of sign up to our four key values. And they really are four key values as a family. It's how we operate the business. So nothing I don't think you would not expect to see. You know, we treat everybody with courtesy. We expect that treatment and that respect back to us. We take a lot of pride in what we do. We are very particular about welcoming everybody to these sessions, no matter what their background or issues might be. And finally, we're all about supporting other people. And that's what we've done throughout our individual careers as well. So grab that pen and paper if you haven't got it already, so that you're ready for the silent coaching bit, or indeed if you might want to take a few notes now. And let's get into the first part of the session. So what brings you here will be my first question. Just have a little think first. Why are you giving up your time to sit here and listen to me gabbling on? What is it that has brought you to click on that link to find out maybe about silent coaching and what it is? Maybe there is something that's troubling you and you really want to take action and move forward on that issue in a positive way. So why are you here today? Just be clear with yourself what you want to get out of this session. Then I want you to think about what went well for you last week. Think about one thing that you did particularly well that you are very proud of yourself for doing. Maybe it's how you handled a situation or a person. Maybe you finally tick something off your to-do list that's been on there for ages. So what did you do well last week? It can be something really tiny. It doesn't have to be a big life-changing thing, but just get that clear in your mind. Think also about what were your biggest challenges last week? Were you in a difficult situation that you couldn't handle very well? Did you feel you beat yourself up about it? Did you feel that you were upset about something and you'd like to handle it differently in the future? So, again, it doesn't have to be anything huge, but just think about something that you found challenging. Maybe it was a social interaction while you were out and about. So, something you did really well and something perhaps not so well that you'd like to improve on in the future. And what might you want to look at in the coming week? It's that Facebook question, what's on your mind? What thoughts keep coming into your head? What are the things that you want to get better at or look at or are maybe excited about in the coming week that you want to look at? And then finally, and my hope that you will come back every Tuesday to see me, what do you want to feel like when you come back next Tuesday at 12 noon? What do you want to have improved on? Maybe now you're feeling a bit anxious about something, and maybe by this time next week, you want to not feel so anxious about that thing. So, how do you want to feel when I see you next Tuesday? Do you want to feel more confident, maybe? Less anxious, maybe? Happier, maybe? More excited about your future? Whatever it is, and again, it doesn't have to be a huge thing. Maybe you just want to feel a little bit better. But how do you want to feel when I see you next week? So, hopefully that's helped us sort of get settled into our session today. And what I want to look at for today's topic is eating to feel good. And the reason I've chosen this one is because, let's be honest, it applies to all of us. But I've been reading this fascinating book by Tim Spector on the new science of eating well, and in particular, how it's important for us all to not just eat healthily, we all know about that, but to eat according to our personal makeup. So, Tim Spector and his team have done a lot of research into this area, and I did a fantastic little course that he designed on something called BBC Maestro. There is a huge detailed handout that came along with that course. So if you really want to get into that, let me know and I'll send you the PDF of that handout. That gives you all the detail. I'm really here just going to give you the headlines of Tim's research. But what I gleaned, first of all, from this book is that most diet advice that we're given is completely wrong. And I know, thinking about diets that I've done in the past, they never work. And I've done them all. I've done the Atkins, I've even done the cabbage soup diet, which is dire, when you're desperate after Christmas and you want to lose a few pounds. But the key thing is that most diet advice is wrong. So think about which ones, maybe if you've tried to lose weight before, which ones have you tried and did it work? I mean, usually it works initially, usually it works for a short term. If you want to get in a wedding dress, as I did in my case, or you're going on holiday, it does work, but the pounds pile back on. It's very, very difficult to sustain a diet, and there's lots of reasons around that. But the other thing, the good news here, is that you can make some very small changes to what you eat, and it can make a massive difference. So let's get into the key headlines, the key learning from this book on the science of eating well. So first of all, it's all about creating a healthy gut microbiome. This is what the researchers found. And if you create a healthy gut, healthy microbes inside your system, it's going to have lots of good knock-on effects. So it's going to help your immune system. You're going to have less colds and flu and getting ill. You're going to have better mood regulation. You're not going to have those spikes of suddenly feeling great and then plonking right back down to the floor and feeling rotten. It's going to help you digest your food. And research also shows that if you eat the right polyphenols, for example, they can fight those nasty cancer cells that are probably in all of us. So treat your microbiome well, and they will in turn treat you well. They'll support your organs and they'll support all those important body systems. And if you want to find out how good your microbiome is before you set off trying to make it healthier, there's this fantastic exercise you can do called the Blue Poop Challenge. And all you have to do is get some muffins, or you can make them, you see the recipes online, and you add blue dye to the muffins. And you time when you eat them, and then you note the time when it comes out the other end. So you're looking for how many hours it takes for you to eat that muffin for your poo to turn blue. And the window for the healthiest indicator of good gut bacteria is between 14 and 20 hours. If it takes less than 14 hours to come through, you'd probably need to go and see a doctor straight away. I mean, don't panic too much, but you need to be asking questions. And alternatively, if it's taking 60 hours to come through, that might suggest some health issues that you might have. But it's a great starting point, and it's quite a fun thing to do to see how quickly food is transiting through your system. So 5 simple tips to optimize your microbiome, according to the doctors, according to the research, is this. First of all, you need to increase your plant diversity up to 30 different plants a week. Now, don't panic, because it doesn't mean to say you have to completely fill your shopping trolley with fruit and veg. Because when we say plants, that includes things like spices, it includes herbs, which are packed with these good products that you need to create a healthy gut. So, for example, I now do things like I'll put a bit of turmeric in my porridge in the morning, and I'll sprinkle on some cinnamon before I eat my breakfast. So that's 2 straight away. And a couple more fruits and a few nuts and seeds. I'm up to 5 or 6 already. So it's not actually as hard as you think it is. Eat the rainbow. Again, this is nothing new. We hear this all the time. But have a look at your plate and see, do you have something green, red, orange on there? Have you got a good range of colours on your plate each meal that you have? If not, try and add some more. Eat the K's. Tim Spector says you should eat the K's every meal that you have. So each meal you have, try and have fermented food. Kimchi, maybe with a bit of salad. Kombucha, maybe when a glass while you have your lunch. And kefir, perhaps put a bit of kefir yogurt on your cereals in the morning. And rest your gut overnight. So give your gut at least a 12-hour break so that those microbiome, those healthy microbes can do their job. They can start helping your system to do what it needs to do, but it needs at least a 12-hour window to rest and regroup and fight the infections and the unhealthy bacteria in your system. So a good place to start is perhaps stop eating at 8 o'clock in the evening and don't have your breakfast till 8 o'clock in the morning. I find that's quite doable if I stop those late night snacks. I'm giving my gut a good rest. And then finally, try to cut down on the ultra processed foods. And the best way to know if a food is ultra processed, if you look at the ingredients on it and recognize an ingredient and read an ingredient you don't recognize, you can guarantee it's a UPF. So I quite often will pick up what I think is healthy coleslaw from the supermarket to go with my lunch, maybe a baked potato. And I look on there, and yesterday I noticed it's got an ingredient called guar gum, which sounds horrible in itself. So something that I think is healthy actually isn't. It's got nasty ingredients in there. So if you can't recognize an ingredient, it's probably a UPF. It's better to eat foods that look and smell like food. So those are his top five. And as I say, if you want the detail of that, fascinating stuff, I think. Drop me a line or let me know, and I'll send you that PDF document from the full course. So let's look now at a few facts and myths about food and the food industry. The good news is that it's not all about our genes. You're not born with a set of cards and you're stuck with them and you have to play those cards. You can create the hand yourself. The environment that you live in and the food that you eat is the driver to your health. It's not what you're born in. And that is proven with experiments they've done with twins. And you might have seen documentaries on this. So you can stack everything in your favor if you want to. The other key thing that they're finding at the moment is that we're all unique. So we've got to tune into our own body. We've got to start to recognize what suits us. So, for example, I wear this Fitbit I got about a month ago, and I've noticed that I have a massive increase in my heart rate every morning at 3 o'clock. It's always bang on 3 o'clock. My heart shoots up at a nice resting pace, and then it shoots up to well over 100. Of course, it wakes me up, and sometimes I can't go back to sleep. And I thought that might all be to do with what I was dreaming about or what I was anxious about. But I'm now starting to use the data, and I'm realizing it's probably more to do with what I'm eating in the daytime, because I tend to eat quite a lot of carbs for my dinner at about 7 o'clock. And that's probably where this 3 o'clock spike is coming. I don't know. I'm still researching it. So perhaps I can tell you more next week about what happens as I try out and try to tune into my own body. But it's fascinating stuff. We're on the cusp of all this. This is all new stuff. But I'm certainly going to try and arm myself with more information on that. And I'm trying not to be fooled anymore by the marketing. So be careful of what they call halo foods. Halo foods are the ones that they'll tell you on the tin or on the packet. This is low fat, really good for you. It'll help your cholesterol. Be very wary the food industry telling you what's good for you. So look at the picture there. That all looks really good for you, doesn't it? With all the fruits on the outside. But have a look at what's in the ingredients. I can guarantee there's stuff in there that is not healthy at all. You would be much better off just eating an apple or getting the strawberries whole than having it processed and repackaged in a plastic bottle like that. So start being a bit more discerning. Start, asking questions, having a look and thinking, who's this benefiting? Me or the person making the profit from selling it to me? And more, the scientists are finding, and they're calling the gut your second brain. So if you improve your gut and help it to be healthy, your gut in turn will improve your mental health. It will help you sleep better, and in turn, that will help you feel more positive. So again, I'm on the cusp of this myself. I'm starting to try to monitor whether what I eat is helping me sleep better. And it's early days yet, but I think the signs are looking really positive. So let's recap with Tim's top 5 tips to feeling good. As I say, all from this book and this fabulous course I think he's done on BBC Maestro. First thing he says, if you optimize your sleep, you will feel better. And I know that's certainly true for me. If I get a bad night's sleep, feel rotten the next day, I'm sure you do too. And if I sleep well, I feel like I can do anything. I'm bouncing about the next day and I feel like I can achieve anything. The other thing we're all told is regular exercise. We all know it, don't we? Is it cardio you should do 2 or 3 times a week for at least 30 minutes? We hear these messages all the time, so we know. But the other important one that's been noted is that you need to build muscle as well as exercise your heart. So it's really important to build muscle and in the right way according to your age. Certainly for women my age, well into my 60s now, we have to make sure we're building enough muscle so we don't fall over in the future, so that the core is really strong, so we don't get all the backache. So regular exercise, but again, make sure it's personalized to you. Plant diversity, as Tim says, 30 a week. Well, that can include herbs and spices as well as all those lovely fruits he's got in the picture there. So it's not as hard as you think it is. Understand your body and perhaps get tested. If you think there is something that's affecting your sleep, affecting how you feel, maybe ask your GP for a test, a glucose test. And if you can afford it, maybe I've sent off one of these glucose monitors, that you stick on your arm, and you get an app so that you can see the effect that foods are having on your glucose spike. So get tested or use the technology that's there if you can afford to arm yourself with more information. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, don't go crazy on this. I have a tendency, I am autistic, and I think a lot of people like me, we can have a tendency, not always, but we can have a tendency to go all in on something. So if people say to me, do this, Catherine, I'll do it 100%. And I will push myself to be a perfectionist. And what he says is, be careful doing that. Take the 80-20 rule. You've got to live your life. And you mustn't put yourself under stress and pressure with this, because you're going to end up with different problems. So try to follow healthy eating for 80% of the time. But when it's your birthday, as it was mine earlier this week, have that piece of birthday cake and glass of champagne and enjoy it, because life is there to enjoy and to live. So hopefully that's helped you, give you some, excuse the pun, food for thought. And as I say, if you want more detail, there's loads more. I recommend the book. But if you've got less time, drop me a line and I will send you the PDF document. So let's now get into our silent coaching part of the session. So all you need for this is a pen and some paper. Maybe grab a drink, take a sip of water, sit back and relax, and just listen to my questions, answer them as best you can, and also, most importantly, write them down. Really important part of the process. And before we start, I would say to you, don't beat yourself up about this either, because coaching and being coached, it's like a new skill, and it's not going to happen instantly. Like most things, you have to work at it. You have to keep trying. You have to show up and keep coming back for it to work, to do it. So most skills, I'm trying to learn how to do meditation now, and it's taking ages. It's very frustrating, but each week I have another little win and I go a little bit further and it helps me a bit more. Coaching, very similar. And particularly this silent coaching, there's quite an art to it. So bear with me. Give it a go. Keep an open mind. So are we ready to give it a go? And as I coach you through this session, I'm also going to coach myself. So I'm getting my pen and paper ready here, because I want to get something out of our time together as much as you do. So if you can keep your camera on, because it helps me to see when people have stopped writing. It helps me to see if you're ready for that next question. So here we go. First of all, I want you to think of an area of your life that you want to work on. So it'll be something that you want to improve. It's also likely to be an area of concern for you now. So it's something that's bothering you and you want it to get better. Keep it general here. Keep it. So we're just looking at a general topic. So it might be things like, the common ones we get are things like healthy eating, which we just talked about, or fitness, getting fitter, getting healthier. Sometimes people want to look at things like their career, they're a bit stuck, or young people often want to know what career to follow. Some people want to know, or they want to set up their own business, they're fed up with the corporate world, whatever it is, think of your topic, something you want to work on today with me. And before you write it down, your topic or your subject, just check that it's got to be something that really matters to you. So you've got to want to really make a change in this area. It's also important that you've got some degree of control over it. So I can't coach you on something for somebody else. So if you want your kids to do the homework, I can't coach you on that. I can only coach you on something that's for you, something that you can try to change. So hopefully you've got your topic in your head. I know I have. I want you to now write down in one sentence what it is that you want to work on. So I'm going to write mine down. I'll share it with you just so that you get the idea of how to do this. So my topic is energy. I want to feel more energized and motivated when I get up in the morning. So at the moment, I'm not. I don't sleep well. I have patterns of insomnia, and some days it's great, and some days I just feel rotten. I've got no energy. So let me repeat again. This is something that you've got to have some degree of control over, and it's something that's concerning you. So I'll tell you mine again. So I've written down for my one sentence that I want to work on. My topic is energy. I want to feel more energized and motivated when I get up in the morning. So write down your one sentence now. What is it that you want to work on? Got it? Okay, let's move to the next set of questions. We're now going to explore what exactly it is you want here. I'm going to call it the goal, but you might want to call it your dream or your target or your aim. It doesn't matter. But what I want you to do now is go forward in time to a point where everything in this part of your life is totally resolved. So you're totally happy, 100% satisfied with how you're now doing in this area. So for me, it's probably close my eyes. I'm getting up every morning at 7 o'clock, feeling like I've had a great night's sleep. But more importantly, I've got energy and I want to do stuff in the day. I'm jumping out of bed almost going, yep, I want to get on with that project with regard to my coaching business. So imagine it, close your eyes if it helps. Go forward to a time and see yourself. Everything's resolved. Everything is 100% as you want it to be in that area. So I close my eyes and I see myself sitting on my balcony with a coffee, smiling because I've got a day ahead of me and I can't wait to get up, have a shower, get dressed, and get out there and start mingling with people to talk about my business. Can you see yourself there? Smiling, yeah, because you've done it. Now I want you to answer these questions and write down your answers on a piece of paper in front of you. What can you see happening to show you that this issue has been resolved? I'm writing it down myself, remember, I'm doing this too. So, what can you see happening around you that proves to you that this issue or this concern has been resolved? Next question. What are you doing that shows you've achieved what you wanted? So, what are you actually doing, maybe day to day, that shows that you've achieved this goal, this target, whatever? Write that down. Next question. What are other people in your life saying to you now? You've achieved this thing. What are they saying to you? So, what are the people around you noticing? What are they saying to you? Write that down. Next question. What are you feeling? You've resolved this. How are you feeling? Remember, this is in the future. You've resolved it. You've got there. You've reached the goal. See yourself in that place. How are you feeling? Write down that emotion or that feeling. And then final question for this section. What impact has this had on other areas of your life? So what impact has it had on other areas of your life? Okay. Put your pen down for a minute and I want you now to take a deep breath and answer this question. What would have happened if you had done nothing at all? What would have happened if you had done nothing at all? Write that down. So now I want you to think of a scale of 1 to 10. So one is where you're just coming from a standing start. You haven't done anything with regard to this goal or this problem. You've only maybe even just thought of it today. And 10 is where you've achieved it. You've got your 100%, you're there. Where are you now on that scale? 1 to 10. Think about that number and write that number down. So if you're not very far towards that goal, you're down at the one, two, threes. If you're at the other end and you're nearly there, you're eight, nines. Well, probably not a 10, otherwise it wouldn't be a goal. But try and get a feel for how far you are from achieving it. And then think to yourself, what would it take? What do you need to do to get yourself one step closer to the next number? What's a little baby step you need to take to get yourself from, say, a five to a six? And then write down a date of when you think you could achieve that first baby step. Hopefully, that date is within the next week because I would like to hear about it or make sure you've moved, like I say, even just a little baby step towards that goal. So let's go now to the next section and look at where you are now. So, really, we've talked about your goal, your target, your aim, whatever you want to call it. We've said that's where you want to get to. This thing's bothering you, you want to get there. But let's do a reality check, if you like, and see where we are now. So, my first question, again, write down the answers. What's going on at the moment that's causing you concern here? What it was happening that's telling you it's an issue for you? Write that down, please. What's missing that you want? Write that down. What's missing that you want? What are you doing well that you want to keep in this area? What bits have worked before that you want to keep, or something that you're doing well? And what good habits do you already have in this area? What are you doing regularly, perhaps already, that is working? Write that down. So try and get really specific now about the things that were successful before and write down exactly what you did. What was it? When did you do it? How often did you do it? Write down anything that worked previously in this area. And finally, what strikes you as being crucial to your success this time? What's going to be crucial to do or put in place this time? Now we've got to look at obstacles because you're clear now where you want to get to. You're clear also about where you are now, and you've unpicked what's worked before, so you can build on that. But what we've got to do next is have a look at any obstacles or barriers that might be in your way to achieving that. So write down anything that you think might stop you from moving forward. So, what are your barriers? Anything that might stop you from moving this forward, write it down. Be very specific, be very detailed. What is the major obstacle? What's the big one that's getting in your way? Is it time? Is it money? Is it yourself? Write it down. By the way, don't let yourself off the hook here. When I say be detailed and specific about what these barriers are, um, how can I put this? Don't give yourself an excuse or recognize when it is an excuse. So we all do it, don't worry. It's quite normal. But if you say, well, the thing that's stopping me is my boss, I want you to write down what exactly is it about your boss that's getting in the way? What is the obstacle? Or, if it's something about you don't have enough time, I don't have enough time to set up my own business. Well, how much time do you need? So write that down. Be clear what the barrier or what the obstacle is. And again, looking at the past, have you had to negotiate similar barriers in the past? I'm sure in the past, we've all negotiated and got over hurdles that we didn't think we could. So maybe revisit those ideas. How were you successful before when you were successful? What did you do? Write that down. Dig deep into yourself too and think, what skills do you have that you could use on this problem? You know, what characteristics do you have? What strengths have you got? Write all these things down. What resources have you got that you could use here? Contacts, people you know. And finally, what support have you got that could be important? What support have you already got in place? Okay, so that's where you are now. So we've looked at where you want to get to. We've done a reality check to see where you are now. So logically, next, we've got to look at all your different options to get you to your goal. Because there isn't just one straight line on a journey to a destination. There's many different forms of getting there. So that's what we want to look at next. So we're ready to think about options. And I want you to keep in mind what you could do, not what you will do. So please try not jump to, oh, that's what I'll do. I'll go and talk to them. I'll do this. I'll do that. The brain will want you to do that, but try and stop it because this is where the magic happens in coaching when we start to explore all the things that we've never really considered before. So this might be your light bulb moment coming up. So keep in mind when we're looking about at your options or you're thinking about your options, go a bit bonkers, go a bit crazy. Think about what you could do, not what you will do. This is very important. So, again, writing everything down. Nice long list here of options, bonkers ones. Often the best ones are the ones that start off as a crazy idea. Before you know it, wow, you're actually setting up that business. It's bizarre. So, what could you do if you weren't answerable to anybody? What could you do if you didn't have to answer to a boss, partner, kids, nobody but yourself? Write that down. What could you do if resources were unlimited? You know, you had millions of pounds to spend on this, you had all the time in the world. What could you do? What could you do if you had total belief in yourself, not scared of anything at all? What could you do? And finally, if you went to speak to your best friend about this issue, what would they say you could do? You might put them in your mind or somebody you trust cares for you. If you went to them, what would they say you could do? Is there anything else you could do? I imagine you've got all the time in the world, all the money in the world, not scared of anything. What else could you do? Write that down. Now have a look at your list of options and see what's missing and write down anything else that comes into your head. Remember, this is not what you're going to do necessarily. It's what you could do. Don't edit, don't put anything away. Just write it down, whatever comes into your head now. Okay, so you should have a list now of at least, well, I've got seven on mine, so you should have at least seven options as to what you could do to move forward. So have a look at that list. Just make sure there's nothing else you could add to it, what you could do. And then decide which idea looks the best. Which one looks right to you? You know, which one do you think will have the maybe the biggest impact? Put a little tick next to that one that you think might have the biggest impact. Look at the list again and put a tick next to the one that you think will be the quickest or the easiest to do. And then finally, put a tick next to the one that you think is the most exciting or challenging to do. So you should have at least three little ticks there next to that list. So you've narrowed it down from seven or however many options to three. We're not saying that we're throwing the other ones away, but we're just trying to identify which ones we're going to work on first. So choose one now and commit to working on this one as your first baby step, if you like. So perhaps put a star next to that one. So go to the options, your three little ticks, then choose one from there. Put a star next to that and commit in your mind now. Yeah, I'm going to work on that one first. So now we're in the very final stage of our silent coaching session. And this is where stuff starts to happen because this is where we make our action plan, where we decide how we're going to move it forward. It's exciting because something's now actually going to happen, something's going to change. So, first of all, you're going to think about what you need to do. You've chosen your option, but what specific actions do you need to take to make that happen? So, write down what you need to do, maybe two or three baby steps to make it happen. Well, I've got three little baby steps there with mine. And now I've got to ask myself, What might stop me from completing those baby steps? Are there any barriers in the way? How am I going to get rid of those barriers? Is there anybody I need to speak to tell them what's going on, to get their support, to get them to, I don't know, do something, maybe look after the kids for half an hour or whatever it is. How do I take any barriers down that might stop me from achieving these first few little steps towards my bigger goal? And if you find yourself thinking things like, oh, I can't do this, it's too much, maybe you need to break it down even further into even smaller steps to make sure that they're easy to do. Is there somebody else you can involve in achieving it, perhaps? And then regarding these little steps that you've written down, give yourself a date of when you want to achieve it by. So write down, I'm going to write down actually the time and the date, the day and the date. So look at what you've got to do, be realistic and say, right, I'm going to do this at whatever o'clock on Friday, the 1st of August, and write it down. And then very finally, again, go back to your scale of 1 to 10, where one is, I'm not going to bother. It's not going to happen. I've suddenly realized I'm not that bothered about this. And 10 is, I'm absolutely committed to doing this. I'm going to do it straight after this session. Write down where you are on that scale. So, how strong is your commitment to doing this, to achieving this first mini goal, if you like? And when you've written down that figure, just reflect on if you do it at that time and date you've said, what will the benefits be of you taking that action? What will the spin-offs? Will somebody else benefit from it? Remember, keep writing these things down. What about you? But I'm on about page 3 now. My my little book here. So who else would benefit? And if you took these steps, what would you be saying to yourself? How would you be feeling? Well done. That's your first silent coaching session, perhaps, or not. If you're interested in what I put down, I'm quite happy to share it. So again, just drop me a line, let me know, and I'll share my notes with you. It might help you to see what we're looking for here. But my final question to you in this segment is, what have you learned in that silent coaching bit? Have you learned something about yourself? Perhaps just reflect on that for a moment before we summarize and finish off what we're going to do next time. So have a think about how you're feeling now. Think about also your top 3 takeaways from this session. So I'll share mine from the top of my head. My number 1 takeaway would be that I realised the power again of coaching. And even though I'm almost coaching myself, just doing that today has helped me refocus on what I really want to achieve. My second takeaway is the importance of personalizing healthy eating. So I've realized that it's not just about eating the right stuff, you've got to eat the right stuff for you. So my second takeaway is dig deeper and try and find out more about yourself and your own body. And my third takeaway is that it is important, I think, to maybe even crucial, particularly to people like me that are autistic, to actually stop and spend some time slowing down your mind and really thinking about what you want generally, and the importance of writing that down so that you've got a record of it that you cannot sort of your brain can't rush off and escape from. So think about what are your top three takeaways from this session, and also what have you learned about yourself. I constantly learn that despite the disadvantages that I do face with having, a recognised disability, I am still incredibly resilient, incredibly curious, and very happy and positive about life. So if you want more, email me. There's the email there on the slide. If you want that PDF, definitely email me and I'll send it straight back. So this week we've looked at, we did a review at the beginning of how you felt last week, what went well, what not so well. We looked at this week's topic, eating to feel good, based primarily on Tim Spector's research. We did our silent coaching segment, which we'll do every week to hopefully make it easier and help you move forward with your goals. And finally, we reviewed the session and we look forward to what we want to achieve next week from the things that we've written down there in our first little 2 or 3 baby steps. So hopefully see you again next Tuesday at 12. If you get stuck in the meantime, don't hesitate to contact us. And indeed, if you've got any suggestions for topics that you'd like to look at another time, next week's topic I'm thinking of doing is based on this book, Unstressable. Fascinating stuff, lots of very useful little tips and tricks on how to reduce stress. But that I'll save that for next time. And if you have any questions at all, please get in touch. Thanks again for listening, and I'll leave you with this quote from Walt Disney. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. Bye for now.